Hey everyone, it's Mike with Legacy Doors and more again. Today in this particular video, we're highlighting a kitchen remodel epoxy countertop we did recently. I think it turned out really nice. It was a lot of work to make it this nice. This actually was the third reiteration we had done on this epoxy countertop. My mother, bless her heart, this is her countertop. This is one that she's always kind of let me do R&D, and the first two reiterations were the first two epoxy countertops I had ever attempted, which the second one turned out okay, but this third one, years later, is years later worth of experience. Turned out a million times better. I'm far happier with this. You can see how it has a lot more like minerals and pores and looks a lot more like a real stone and really just ties the whole kitchen together. This is what the countertop looked plain before. This was the second reiteration, which it looked okay, but you can tell like it doesn't have the pores and minerals. The grains and veins don't really go the right direction. It turned out okay for my second ever epoxy countertop, but we've come a long way with experience since then. So starting with the original kitchen, you can see very outdated. It had that old school laminate countertop on it. It had backsplash tile that they then painted both of them with that spray paint. It's the kind that kind of comes out almost like a flake flooring. It's like three different colors, like tan, white, and gray or something. It kind of comes out in like specks. Um, we discussed that we want to do tile backsplash, and we wanted to get rid of that cheap laminate little backsplash lip that's at the back of it. It's like a little 4-inch backsplash. So we're carving all that out, getting rid of all the drywall, getting cement board back in there. Um, Partially, we kind of decided this partway through with the old tile. It was almost impossible to pull it off clean because they super glued it to this drywall, so it was ripping off drywall chunks. So it was either A, patch that drywall like crazy, or B, just get rid of it and start fresh, which we opted to get rid of it and start fresh. I mean, may as well get some cement board in there, make it really sturdy and tough. While we were at it, we definitely wanted to do an undermount sink, so we were ripping out the old one. The hole for the old one, which was an overmount, was not only way too big of a hole, but it was also very butcher cut. So you can see here we were getting that undermount sink piece cut in. That's the size of the old one and how much bigger it would have been. Which, again, during the initial install, it turned out pretty good. But we later on realized that the template that they gave us for the undermount sink really was too wide. That undermount sink has a little bit of a curved lip at the top of it. Really, with undermount sinks, you really want the countertop to be over the edge of the sink so that any liquid on the countertop just drips directly into the sink, not sits at the top lip of the wall of the sink. And that's exactly what happened with this. Long story short, years later, that's part of why we ended up doing this third reiteration, is because a lot of moisture sat there and got between it and just made it like rotted out and stuff. So ultimately, we were like, yeah, we need to build it in a little bit. And the third reiteration, we actually did build in the sides and the front. That's the side that's closest to us, by about a half inch all the way around. Everything except for the very back. And then bonded it together and everything, made sure it was all nice and smooth and cohesive. Worked out very well, but again, like it definitely needed to be built in a lot more. You can see here we're doing the primer. Again, this is the second reiteration we're doing, technically first. You'll see in a second we will do a dark gray countertop and stone coat countertops, which I do believe is one of the more premium brands. They definitely have a very good product. They had this, it's like a spray can of marbling, so it kind of sprays out like almost like silly string of paint, so you can use it as marbling. Which twofold, again, this was my first attempt ever. Not only did we find out that the color we did was a lot darker than anticipated. My mother, as you can see, likes white a lot. She has the white cabinet, she has the white walls, white doors, white trim. Like everything is pretty much white except for all the accent pieces like furniture, appliances, hardware, etc. But even the backsplash, she wanted white marble, and the countertops, she wanted white Carrera marble. So when we put that gray in, again, it was kind of a learning experience. We definitely learned it was way too dark, and it's always kind of hard to tell when you're mixing it in a bucket. I mean, literally even just a tiny drop of black mixed into a big 2 or 3 gallon bucket will turn it pretty dark gray. If you're going for really light grays, like you need just a sliver of black to add in there. As part of the challenge with epoxy countertops is it is all custom. No two countertops will ever turn out the exact same. In fact, if I had a client call me up and say that they wanted this exact countertop, I would tell them we can go for the same theme, the same shade of gray, the same kind of marbling and stuff, but it's not going to be the exact same. They're one of a kind. And that's actually kind of the beauty of it, is that it always turns out 100% unique. No two countertops are the same, just like real stone. This is not something manufactured that comes out of a printing machine. You can see with the backsplash, we're doing all the grout, filling it all in, wiping it all down, getting it all ready. And then when we did the countertop, we just poured it right up to it so it's seamless. There's no caulking joint or anything. The countertop itself is sealing to those tiles, which I think is a really nice feature. I'm one of those people that everywhere that I see caulking, I feel like it looks cheap. I think it looks a lot more elegant the more it looks like it was built that way, type of thing. Doing all the prep and everything, and again, this is kind of quick, but that's the first iteration we did, and it looked okay. And here's the second iteration we did. This was much more the color scheme that she wanted. It did hold up for a couple years. It looked pretty good. Now, one mistake that we did make on this is we did a clear coat finish, but we did not do a hardener. And so I advised her that we need to do a hardener because that makes it rated for, I think it's like 1500 psi and like 700 degrees on that, which especially for a kitchen countertop that's going to be really abused, we definitely recommend it. When we went to replace this with the third reiteration, there was a couple of burn marks here and there. There was a lot of scratches and stuff. Like, it definitely had needed the hardener. Now, pros and cons with the hardener. It does give it a much more matte finish. Even the gloss version is a lot more matte finish. It also gives it a bumpy texture on it as well. Whereas the clear coat is where it's just like a glass finish type of thing. But the cons of the clear coat, it's not rated for nearly as high PSI resistance, in other words, pressure per square inch, so things like impacts, scratches, dropping something on it, etc., as well as it's not rated for nearly as much heat resistance. So not only things like hot pans, which usually you put them on a pad or something, not directly on the countertop, but in the case that happened with our second reiteration, at some point a hot pan had something in it that when it was rinsed, it was so hot it splattered onto the countertop. And apparently the splatter itself, I don't know if it was like grease or something, but it was so hot that it actually left a bunch of char marks all over the countertop in a splattery type of pattern. And in Stone Coat's product demonstration videos of their hardener, I mean, they're literally like hitting it with a hammer, and they're not hitting it gently, like they are hitting it pretty darn hard, and then they show you in the light it doesn't even leave a dent type of thing. So I am a firm believer in hardener. Epoxy and countertops and remodels and stuff, they're not cheap. I mean, it's just a small extra little step to protect your investment. And we always stress, when we're out there with our tools and equipment and everything, the more we can do to bundle, the more it makes sense. So, I mean, we replaced all the valves in there. We replaced the garbage disposal, new pipes and everything. Some of which, the new pipes, we probably would have had to have done a little bit anyways with the new sink. But definitely makes sense while we're already into it. And then, of course, that cabinet down there we painted with a waterproof epoxy finish so that not only is it sitting lower, they can have more space in there, but also if something happened, it is a lot more water resistant. Now, what we did on this particular install is something that would definitely be a more premium install, a bigger charge. So what we did was we put the hardener down, and of course it leaves that textured matte finish, which the client, my mother, really didn't like. So what we did was we applied hardener, and then we sanded down all the high points with very fine sandpaper. I mean, you're talking like 400 to 600 grit for the first couple coats. And that's the thing, is we did that, we applied a NARC coat, we did it again, we applied a NARC coat, basically building up the hardener on there, but then sanding it down so it doesn't have that textured finish. We did this 6 times, and on the final 2 steps, we ended up using 600 and 800 grit. The final step, we used 600, 800, and even 1000 grit. So we were still after that smooth, somewhat gloss finish, but the big thing that the client didn't like was the texture on it, which unfortunately at this time Stone Coat does not offer an option that is a hardener but a clear smooth finish. You either have the gloss that has the texture or the matte that has the texture. So this was something, again, kind of R&D. I'd never done this particular finish before, but I had a theory, just like woodworking, if you want a really gloss smooth finish, you apply a thin film of it, sand it down, another thin film, sand it down, and you're basically making that build up, but you're each layer trying to make as smooth as possible, and each layer is sanding down the high points and filling in the low points so that overall it becomes pretty much glass smooth. And you can see his third reiteration turned out amazing. I mean, it's got those nice rich pores. It looks like a really rich marble. We also do all kinds of other epoxy projects. We do, flooring for basements and garages, anywhere from the basic generic flake flooring that you see all the time, as well as marble flooring, which almost nobody has seen. This is something that takes a lot more expertise, a lot more effort, and that's part of why most companies don't offer it. And with epoxy countertops on this one, I would note this brown one. I mean, I didn't particularly like the color scheme of brown, but that's kind of the beauty of stone coat countertops and doing a custom project like this. Cosmetically, it's all opinion. So, I mean, I don't like brown, but the homeowner did, and she loved it. So that's all that matters. Whoever's paying for it and is going to live with it, that's the opinion that counts. Otherwise, you're giving us a color scheme and kind of what you're looking for, and then we build from there. This floor we did bronze, what was it, silver, gold, and on kind of a light gray marbling type of background. Same thing, it's really cool that this is all one solid sheet throughout the entire basement, throughout all the rooms. There's no transition boards. The veins literally continue through the walls type of thing, which I think is a little detail that maybe a lot of people would never notice, but for anybody that would care to look, I mean, that's kind of a cool detail. And again, with this one, we wanted some big veins, but nothing super busy. That's always kind of a toss-up in epoxy, and part of what comes with experience is kind of having an idea of that fine line between what is too busy versus what is not. And again, it always looks good, but when you actually see it in person, you get like a close-up look. I mean, they're so pretty, all the veins and pores and the bubbling, and there's a whole process to make it do that, but when you do, it looks amazing. It's almost a shame that they actually had to move into this basement and put, beds, furniture, uh, shower mats, and all kinds of stuff, but it looked really nice. Thanks for watching, and if you yourself ever need anything home and property, again, we do it all. We did this full basement remodel, the electrical, the HVAC, the plumbing, the framing, insulation, drywall and paint, door install, stairways, I mean, literally everything in here, even decoratively hanging their old school bike up there, making these pipes transition really well. We couldn't get rid of them, at least not without spending a ton of money, so we tried to blend them in as good as we can. And again, that floor really is the showpiece of this whole basement. We've had so many compliments on it. As always, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and follow this. It really helps us out. Check out our Facebook page. If you need anything home or property in northern Utah, we can help you with pretty much anything. We have electricians, plumbers, HVAC, concrete, roofing, you name it. We have somebody that does it. Just a network of a bunch of small family-run businesses. Hope you all have a great day.